What's up, guys? It's your boys Wokey back at it with another of a Chris Watts video, but this one is actually on the side of Chris Watts living in fear in prison, and apparently there's word of going around in the prison system, and this YouTube channel called Lockdown 23 and 1 has the scoop, and we're going to watch it because by popular demand that you guys have been sending me this video to watch, react to. And then we're also going to add a little bit of the Tilted Lawyer in there with the Tilted Lawyer clips, Chris Watts recounts what happened that night, and did Shannan play a part? I don't know what that means, but we're going to watch it because you guys have been asking. So with that being said, get comfortable. Also, before we go any further, make sure you guys are subscribed to the YouTube channel by hitting that white bar icon down the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that Wokey myself has posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you guys so very much for that continued love and support that you guys show on this channel every single day. I can't thank you guys enough. Keep doing what you guys are doing. We'll continue to keep growing together. Speaking of support, again, check out the Tilted Lawyer in the description below. And then also go over to Lockdown 23 and 1, his YouTube channel. This man's almost to 1 million subscribers. So go give him some love. Watch his old stuff. Watch his new stuff. And with that being said, let's get into the video.
Another episode of Lockdown 23 and 1.
Okay.
That's right, today I got another roundup of lockup and crime-related stories. The first story is going to be an update on a true monster. Look, there's two stories that I've followed throughout time that just makes my blood boil. I mean, there's a bunch, but these two in particular really stick out, okay? The Casey Anthony situation, I feel as though she should be rotting in prison the rest of her life.
Oh, I believe it.
That's just my 2 cents. And second of all, Chris Watts.
Yes.
Which he's already rotting in prison. And today I got a little update on his life behind bars. Not to mention the situation that happened in England with the correctional officer, the video of her sleeping with an inmate. I'm going to speak of that one because I seen the video. So let's get right into it. If you enjoy this type of content, all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave. And check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. So like I said, we're going to start off with the Chris Watts update, coming from one of his former cellmates, Dylan Tallman. Not to mention a couple pen pals and other people that's been in contact with him. Which surprises me. I didn't think he had another cellmate. I thought he was in a cell by himself the whole time. He might be now, I don't know. The article begins saying Chris Watts is in a hell of his own making as he serves a life sentence in a small cell at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. He hardly talks to anyone, instead choosing to read his Bible and to ponder the wife and 2 young daughters he ruthlessly murdered in 2018. The Post has spoken to 3 people who have had contact with the 39-year-old killer behind bars, and they all have stated that he lives a very lonely lifestyle. He's gained significant weight and lost just about all of his hair.
Good.
I wish we could have an updated photo of that. He might lose a few pen pals when they see how much him honey bun's been sticking to him. It makes me sick though that this guy's able to sit in a cell, gain weight off of snacks, guaranteed.
I see a lot of these guys that are in prison and stuff like that on the shows that I watch, and like these guys are ripped. Like these guys look like they're scary. Chris Watts is gaining weight, so is he like not lifting weights or anything like that?
After he done killed his wife and kids. It just don't make sense. It goes on saying that the triple murderer often avoids eye contact with...
I hate when they say triple murder. It's quadruple murder. Not saying anything against this man, but I'm just saying.
...with other inmates for his own safety. I doubt it's for his own safety. It's probably because he's ashamed to even look at anybody, knowing that they know what he's done. When he attends Bible studies, he often keeps to himself and doesn't talk to new people at all. A lot of guys would like to get their hands on him, said Eddie Neves, who spent a year at the prison alongside Watts. He killed 2 little girls who didn't do nothing to deserve it. He's the lowest of the low at Dodge. A lot of people want to get their revenge for those girls. Look, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, man. If I didn't have all the kids that I got now, and I knew that if I did something to someone in prison, it would risk me coming home to them, I wouldn't do it. But if I was single, didn't have no kids, no obligations, and I was put in a cell with Mr. Watts, I'm not even going to say what I would do, but it would definitely be something pretty treacherous. You know, there's no way that someone like that could be living with me. I just keep on thinking about what he did to those little girls, man. It would make me boil inside. It's making me boil right now thinking about it. The former cellmate continues saying that they protected him at Dodge. If the guards weren't always around, everyone would have taken a swing at him. Those sentiments are echoed by Watts' former cellmate from 2018 to 2020, who said that Watts is often in danger behind bars. He's an outcast, said Dylan Tallman, who worked on a yet unpublished devotional book with Watts. When people found out that his victims were 2 little girls, they wanted to kill him. He had nowhere else to turn. I think I was his only friend. And you know what, man? Just by you being his friend is making me feel some kind of way about you. He says at times when he would talk about the murders, his eyes would turn so black. His one-time pen pal, Cheryl Cattle, says he would just get a different look on his face. And he talked about it so nonchalantly, like going down to get a cup of coffee. He's in the head.
No remorse, man.
When you're in prison with a lot of guys who did really bad things, but you're still considered the worst person there, that means you're just an evil individual. Yeah, if everyone in the prison is looking at you like the worst person on earth, it's a surprise to me that someone hasn't gutted him in that.
I honestly don't think this man's gonna live out his sentence. Somebody's gonna get him, and it's not gonna be good. That's just my opinion. I don't think he'll make his sentence. He will end up getting KO'd.
Cell block yet. At least you know the correctional officers in Dodge are doing their job. They're dodging a bullet, keeping him alive. But, you know, guys like this, Chris Watts and other individuals, has taken a lot of lives and they're not sentenced to death. Even when it was all said and done, you know.
I 100% agree that man should be put to death. He did a quadruple murder of his family, and yet he walks free because he made a deal. There should have been no deal for this man. This man should have been put to death.
People just gotta know, get some kind of intel as to why this guy would do something like this, or anyone. Study them. You know, try to figure out what makes them tick. But it goes on saying that Watts committed the murders because he was having an affair with Miss Kessinger, a co-worker who would later claim that she thought he was already separated. Every day he thinks about what he did, Tallman said. He has photos of the girls and he prays for forgiveness every day, but he knows he can't undo what he did. I've heard this happening from past updates on him and I don't agree with it. He should never be allowed to have any photos of his family that he killed.
Agree.
Who knows? He could be looking at those photos, reliving it, and enjoying it. We don't know what's going on.
This man's preaching, man. I love the way this guy talks. Like, literally, he should not have any pictures of the family that he murdered. It's like Hitler having a whole big, huge book of the Jews that he murdered. Like, that's redundantly stupid. Like, it should not be allowed.
In his head, his cellmate says he's asking for forgiveness and stuff, but we don't know. Like the other person said, man, old Watts is f***ed up in the head, talking about this situation like going to get a cup of tea, nonchalantly. A spokesperson for Wisconsin Department of Corrections said that Watts has no scheduled visitors for several weeks. He occasionally receives a pastoral visit. His mother visited him earlier this year. However, though, Watts still has several pen pals, mostly all women. Disgusting. And that really blows my mind, man. What kind of girls or men out there would ever want to have anything to do with this guy? Unless it was for something maybe like, you know, if you returned your letter and then you sell the letter on eBay or to a news company, hustling. I can see that happening.
Yeah.
But that's an update on Chris Watts. Seems like he's at fear for his life, pretty much in torturous situation all by himself. And like I said in all my previous updates of Chris Watts, I can almost 99.9% guarantee later on down the road, chances are, if you were to ask me, an inmate's going to try to take his life. Just my 2 cents. I don't think he's going to duck a situation like that his whole bit.
That's my 2 cents too. I don't feel that he's gonna make it.
I were to bet, it's probably when his level decreases just a little bit and they move him out of Dodge or something. Even though he'll still probably go to a special unit, it doesn't matter. New prison means new correctional officers, which means a possible chance of them not giving a f that you die. Now, like I said in the beginning, the Casey Anthony story really boils my blood as well. All
right, we're going to continue it with Omar at the Tilted Lawyer. and see what he has to say. We can't watch more of the last one we just watched because he goes on to Casey Anthony and another case, whatever have you. There is another guy out there that apparently JD something. You guys have asked me to watch it, but apparently it's like a little, I wouldn't say bad, but the word usage and stuff like that is not something I want to put in this channel, but I'll definitely watch it to see if I can actually include it in my videos. But let's go and look at Tilted Lawyer. On his Patreon. TheTiltedLawyer.com.
In 2018 is when Chris kills Shannan and their daughters, according to his confession. Whether or not you want to believe that Shannan is responsible for the murders, let me just spoil this for you. There is no direct evidence that is going to point to Shannan committing the murders. So if you want to believe that, you are 100% outside of what is factually.
Please listen to this man, okay? For those that think that Shannan is a murderer, I don't know where you get your information from or why you think this, but listen to this man because he knows his stuff. The man is a professional. You guys wanted me to find professionals? We found professionals. And this man is speaking truth.
So if you want to speculate that and that's your opinion, that's fine. Just know that it is not rooted in what is the actual evidence of what is known on the case. There was actually some person that was quoting or commenting on our show the last week that we did, our last show, suggesting that Shannan was involved in the murders. And then she felt the need to say, I am not Chris Watts' mom or something like that.
Okay.
Which I never asked her, but
Yes.
I assume that she probably has gotten that a lot on other shows that she's commented on. On the surveillance, okay, so I've seen it myself, and you guys could, we'll have a link down below to surveillance footage of the truck in the wee morning hours of August 13th. But it looks to me like there are shadows of little people. And according to Christopher Watts' confession, yeah, he took them in the car and they were driving to dispose of mom's body.
only
And in
see
the process
one.
of doing that, before he exited the car, he snuffed the lights out. He snuffed the lives out of both of them with his hands. He took a blanket and put it over her head.
So you wouldn't see
Little
her.
Cece. And one hand over her throat, another hand over her mouth and her nose, and suffocated her while the 4-year-old watched.
That man should get
And
what
then did
he
the same
did
to
to
her.
his
And
family.
then placed them in this oil tank with an opening of like 8 inches wide. Shoved their bodies down in there. And then you read the discovery of how they were discovered. They had to drain the crude oil from the tanks. And they could observe Cece was found laying face down in the bottom of the oil tanker. Her head facing due west.
I honestly still can't to this day see how the people that recovered Bella Celeste, I honestly don't think that they're living normal lives anymore because of what they've seen. They are probably haunted, traumatically affected by this. Some of them had to have therapy because of this man and his vendetta to be with a new woman. He disposed of his little girls, his own flesh and blood, in those tanks. And I feel so sad for those people that recovered those little girls. It just, the fathom of that. And then, like, hearing Cindy say, oh, we don't care what you did, Chris. We still love, like, are you listening to what you're saying? He threw them into oil containers, oil tanks, let them splash and sink, have their bodies filled up and deglove. Like, and oh, it just makes me so angry. And then there's people that defend this man. It just, I'm just so shocked anymore. Oh man, it just
her body facing due south, and they pulled her out of there. Her sister was in the other tanker, face up, and I cannot imagine having to be the officials that recovered the bodies of those little girls. I would have had to retire at that point. I could not have continued.
I don't even want to picture it.
The strength that those people have to have when conducting those investigations is unparalleled to any profession that I could think of. But that's what Christopher did. Well, I suggested on the last show that I believe that he believes, he's convinced himself that he did not commit the murders. He tried to pin it on Nicole. He told his jail cellmate that Nicole's the ones that actually killed the kids. I had opined that perhaps that's because he doesn't want to live with the fact that he did this to his girls.
I agree with Omar on that part.
Shannan. When he was confronted with what happened to those girls, he said, "Oh, Shannan did it, and then in retaliation, I avenged their death and murdered Shannan."
I still think, too, that Nicole Kessinger, if she didn't physically was involved, that she persuaded Chris into doing this, like Gypsy Rose. And you can sit there and tell me, do not compare them. Not your channel, so don't worry about it. Because there's people that literally tell me, stop comparing the two cases. They're not the same. No, but Nicole Kessinger should be guilty on some avenue of what she did in this case.
That was his first story.
Right.
Before it was, no, it was all me. And then it was, oh no, it was Nicole.
He keeps changing it.
Right.
Here's the thing about Chris's story. It's difficult to believe anything that he says.
Correct.
The main problem that I have with him is that in spite of what you think might be the truth, I can never reconcile with myself his accounting of how he murdered Shannan, which was he was straddling her in the bed. They had just they had sex.
I don't believe that.
And then they were talking. It was brought up that he was having this affair with Nicole.
He wouldn't touch
He
her
was
at all.
straddling her, sitting on top of her, over her pregnant belly. And then at some point, he just choked the life out of her. And then they asked her, so was she fighting back? What was she doing? Like, what happened? Saying, oh no, she just laid there. And it looked like she might have been saying a prayer to herself.
I don't believe that.
I was like, there's no effing chance in hell that somebody's having the life strangled out of them.
And they're praying.
And they just lay there and accept it. There's no chance
she didn't know
that there's not any defensive wounds, that she wasn't scratching or fighting back, unless he had her restrained in such a way, unless he choked her from the back where he was laying on top of her, her arms pinned down at her sides with his arm around her neck, or if she was perhaps like under the covers, like restrained by the covers where she couldn't fight back. And he was choking her life out of her that way. But there was legitimately no defensive wounds on Christopher. So either we have to believe that Nicole just accepted, oh, okay, I'm going to be strangled right now. And I'm just, prayers to everybody, hope my girls are going to be okay. And just accepted it. The only way that makes sense is if she was restrained in some way. I'll tell you what, I don't believe that Chris would have needed Nicole's help in strangling her to death. It's not that difficult to restrain somebody, stripping them of movement of their limbs to do whatever you got to do. It's not that difficult given Chris's size and Shannan's size and their perceived strength or whatever. Shannan, this is his account. Shannan had told Chris, you're never going to see the girls again. This is what he said after the revelation of his affair with Nicole.
I still think this pisses me off that, okay, Shannan literally says, which he thinks she said, which we don't know for sure, that she said, oh, you're never going to see them again. So your mind goes, let me murder them. Like, does that make any correlation of information to be right? Did that make sense? I don't think that made sense. Like, if you want your daughters, you're going to fight to have them, not murder them. That's why I don't believe that they were supposed to be murdered and that somebody else included them in the murders because they're like, well, this has got to happen or we can't be together.
So then he strangles her to death. Bella
is the one
the
that fought.
4-year-old comes in and asks, so what's wrong with mom? Chris had wrapped Shannan in a blanket and said, oh, she's just sick. And it's in the wee early mornings of 4:30, 5 a.m. that he wraps her in a blanket, puts her in the back of her truck. He puts the 2 kids in the back seat and drives to the work site, his work site, the oil tankers. And then he smothers Celeste, the 3-year-old, in the back seat.
Oh, in 38
and the way
minutes.
that he describes doing it, with his right arm across her throat, his left arm across her nose and her face. And that image, just me imagining it, will never escape me. How a human being could do that to
your flesh and blood,
a defenseless child like that.
Well, that too.
I could never understand it. And then we try to rationalize it. What is this? What is this? What is this? Is it is evil personified. If you wanted a definition, just look at this case. Yeah. Look at it. That's what it is. It's utter disregard for the brightness in those little girls' eyes, the life that they had inside of them.
And that's why we do this.
It is utter disregard for anything other than an objective to make human beings look terrifying, disgusting. And what more disgusting image of humanity could you have other than that?
So with that being said, guys, on this whole thing with the Watts case, I don't want to give up on the case. But I've had, I wouldn't say like second thoughts about it, but like I'm hoping that us talking about this and looking at facts and part of the interviews and the evidence that was there and stuff like that, that we're not doing this on deaf ears. Part of me says that we're doing this for nothing because the DA himself does not care to reopen it because he thinks he's done justice. The other part of me wants me to continuously do this so that Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts never are forgotten about their heinous crime. And there's people out there that think that Nicole Kessinger is innocent. That girl is far from innocent. And I want to continue this case just because of how much there's still that we find out little bits and pieces every single day. And I hope that man in prison, Chris Watts, is rotting and has the prison blues and he rots in prison and he never has an ounce of fun or enjoyment or I hope he doesn't smile. I hope he stays a loner because this man did it to himself. So with that being said, guys, comment down below your guys' thoughts, your opinions, your inquiries, obviously. Hit the like button for the obvious reasons that hopefully one day that the stuff that we do on this channel or all these videos that we've watched and seen and so forth does something in the future. Who knows? Never say never. Nothing is ever impossible. Again, thank you guys for watching. Please take care, be safe, and as always, keep nerding on. And we'll see you guys next time.